Lost media has without a doubt become an established culture online and within the world around us. But have you ever wondered where it all started for the community? Today, March 29th, is my channel's 14th anniversary, but in thinking about how long it's been since I made my first video, it got me thinking about how long it's been since the Lost Media Wiki formed. What topics were the oldest parts of the community interested in, and has that changed at all nowadays? I didn't get into Lost Media until 3 years after the wiki officially formed, and since Lost Media has been so important to me, let's take a closer look at the topics and information about them from the oldest parts of the community for a glimpse at the past. For those unaware, the Lost Media Wiki didn't always exist as a standalone website, but rather, they began as a Wikia page. This Wikia page doesn't exist in pure form anymore, but thankfully, the Wayback Machine has archived much of this old iteration, with captures that go as far back as January 2013. The wiki was formed in November 2012, so this is pretty close to its date of creation. If you visited the old site back in the day, or before they made the switch, you might feel a little nostalgic, scrolling through and seeing all the old article categories, the green banner in background, and of course, the articles themselves. At this time, there were only 72 articles written, and what's even better is the list of every article that's been archived and sorted in chronological order. Now, we can actually see the first entries ever made on the site and begin the journey through time. Any guesses on what the first article written for the Lost Media Wiki was? It really surprised me to see the answer, as it wasn't anything I would have guessed. No, it wasn't the Wicked Witch Sesame Street episode, and it wasn't the famous Cracks or Clockman either, but rather, Mickey Mouse in Vietnam, added November 30th, 2012. The short's official name, Short Subject, isn't mentioned at all in the article, and there's a line in the title that describes it as an underground anti-war short, which isn't present in the modern one. This was, and still is, a really notable piece of Lost Media, for the fact that only 2 copies were known to exist and were exclusive to film festivals and museums. As noted in real time within the article, a copy of the short was uploaded to YouTube in April 2013, and went unnoticed for 3 weeks, until news began to circulate of its existence, to everyone's surprise. Shortly after, the original was removed, but mirrors were put up, though what's omitted from this article is that a second copy had been found on VHS with the original soundtrack intact in 2018. The community had already left this Wikia and moved to the standalone website by that point, so that's why the information about this was never added. The second article, added the same day as Short Subject, is indeed Sesame Street 847, the Wicked Witch episode. It's not surprising to see this one so early in the community, and the article is complete with that one famous picture from a newspaper before it even aired. I'm sure everyone is familiar with this topic by now, as it was unexpectedly found in June 2022. But if you're not, it's essentially a Sesame Street episode that had been aired once in 1976 and then banned right after, for how the Wicked Witch scared kids. The article actually does a good job of explaining that history and mentions the test screenings that were held, but doesn't include the photo from the set, the full newspaper, or the complaint letter from one of the parents. I guess these assets were either found later on, or simply not added to the article. And of course now, we have all the visuals we need, since the episode was found, and the modern article even contains some screenshots. What's also interesting to mention in terms of the wiki itself is that the article has an admin note, which is something you rarely see nowadays on the current website. But back on the Wikia, they were way more common, and often acted as a way to update the article without changing or making a whole new one. Nowadays, it just redirects to the updated ones. The third article added to the site is... oh, well, that's something I don't think I want to talk about. As you'll see going through more of this list, there's quite a few NSFL topics thrown in with your classic cartoon and kids stuff. I guess that makes sense because a large portion of Lost Media has always been about these scarier kinds of topics. Even I've heard about this one before, without ever having read the article. I did click it open, but it kind of freaked me out, and I have no real insight on how the topic has changed between then and now. So we can move on, but now you know that this was the third article ever added to the site. Surprisingly, we've already made it to the other infamous Sesame Street segment, Snuffy's Parents Get a Divorce, as the fourth article. The original article is pretty short and to the point, stating that the episode was intended to air on TV, but screened poorly with test audiences, before the decision was made to pull the episode entirely. That one screenshot is here from the Sesame Street 40th Anniversary special, and at the time, that was all that was available, so the article ends. Since then, however, the segment made an appearance at the Sesame Street Lost and Found event in November 2019, and in a March 2021 special for Sesame Street's 50th anniversary. These are both mentioned in the modern article. However, even since 2021, the full segment has never resurfaced, and no additional content has been made available. The next article is Groupie, that really infamous Marilyn Manson short film that is tagged as both NSFL and NSFW on the modern Lost Media Wiki. I actually don't come across that many articles that have both of those tags, so you can guess that it's pretty intense. Interestingly, the individual articles from the old site do not use this tag system, and instead, there's just one warning on the front page that mentions there being some disturbing content on the site. Since the community was so much smaller, I guess there was less of a need to regulate content. But I'm sure someone like me ended up clicking onto one of those articles and being shocked at what they read. Moving on to something that is pretty unexpected to see, it's Attack of the Giant Vulture from Short Films by Short People on Nickelodeon. Long before I knew what Lost Media was, this was a memory I had from when I was a kid, as many other viewers of the short did too. It aired in the late 90s and early 2000s, and was notable for its large vulture puppet terrorizing kids in the short. This made it particularly memorable and scary when watching it while younger. Apparently back in 2012, enough people remembered it and wanted to find a copy, but according to the article, none could be found. At the time, it seemed like the Paley Center for Media was the only lead to follow, who were confirmed to have a copy, but it's mentioned in one of those updates that they can't release it. But what they can do is organize a screening at their California campus, which Dykate says he could get together if there was enough interest in it. However, the last update about this is from January 2013, where Dykate says he didn't get any messages showing an interest in a screening, with a frowny face. The article in this capture ends there, but only a month later in February 2013, and as documented in the modern day article, a copy of the film festival that aired on Nickelodeon, where the short was played, was found by user Snowpeck and uploaded online. It included some behind-the-scenes content too. Maybe because this was found so early on, it was never able to gain mainstream interest, which is why I never see it get talked about or mentioned now. If this had still been lost, I'm sure it would have become a much bigger search. The final article added on the first day of the wiki, November 30th, is the Grizzly Man audio, another NSFL topic. It's not as uncomfortable for me as some of the other topics, so I'll give it a quick mention. This one is essentially the audio of a grizzly bear enthusiast and his girlfriend who were killed by a bear while camping in 2003. While they were being attacked, 6 minutes of audio were recorded on video camera that has never been released. The audio was given to an ex-girlfriend who says she has never listened to the tape. The majority of this original article discusses a 1 minute 51 second clip that was leaked online in 2008 that was finally debunked as being fake in January 2013, as the transcript of the audio from an official source does not match with the leaked audio. The modern day article is much more descriptive and breaks down the topic in a better way. The next article features a topic that I've never heard about before, but would actually be fitting for several other pieces of Lost Media videos I could make. This is also the first existence unconfirmed topic for the community, and for that reason, I'm surprised it doesn't get discussed more. The topic is about a Japanese horror movie called Ringu, which was released in 1998 and has since become a cult classic. I've never heard of it before, but it seems to have a fan base, and apparently, that fan base has seen a lost version of the film that has never resurfaced, which is where the mystery begins. The article says that in 1999, a different version of the movie was shown at the Brussels International Festival of Fantasy Films, with this cut containing a more graphic visual effect used for the actors' mouths, making them look scarier. This is known as the Brussels cut, and as far back as this article, fans have claimed they've seen it. However, since then, no evidence has come forward other than unverified claims and people who say they have it to prove that it really exists. Someone in this article even posted that they emailed a user who claimed to have it on VHS, but this was never updated, probably because it was fake. The modern article also mentions claims that the Brussels cut aired on Spanish and British TV, but this is also unconfirmed. The only real piece of evidence we have to prove one way or the other if this is even real is the director, who has been asked about it twice and debunked it twice in 2 different interviews. But some people still believe he's attempting to hide its existence. Another classic topic that I'm not surprised to see here, Dexter's Lab Rude Removal. This piece of lost media had circulated the internet as far back as the early 2000s, around the time of its limited screenings at conventions. The article mentions this and does a pretty good job explaining how Craig McCracken and Genndy Tartakovsky confirmed its existence, and the Adult Swim campaign to get it released. They announced on January 21st that it would be uploaded the next day, and it was, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see from the article listing that this was another topic that ended up getting found shortly after being added to the wiki, though it was then posted on February 10th that Adult Swim took down the YouTube video and stream link from their site, but the community had already spread it around at that point. I guess I'd be surprised if this next article wasn't posted within the first few months of the wiki. The 10th article is about Christine Chubbuck. Even if you're not interested in lost media, I'm sure you've heard of this topic before, as it's become extremely well known and infamous over the years that more people have looked into it. The article itself looks like it only summarizes what must have been known up to that point, lacking any references or external links. The new article is very in-depth, but the topic has become pretty controversial in the community, with some users feeling that the search should be left alone. I thought the thread in the forums got locked at one point, but it looks like it's still open, albeit inactive. Those are the top 10 oldest articles from the wiki, but if you keep looking through the list, you'll find a lot of other familiar topics too. One of the ones that caught my eye was Batman Fights Dracula, added in December 2012. I had no idea the topic had been in the community that long ago. The wiki article even predates the extensive search that someone posted about by 9 days. I'm glad that I can say we found more content from the film since the writing of this original article, but unfortunately, all the video content still remains just as lost. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood is another article I was surprised to see being added so early on, in January 2013. This is a topic that people had already been talking about and searching for years prior, but it's cool to see the wiki having an interest in it. It's another short article with no other sources or visuals besides one of the old trailers, though this article is the source of that incorrect information mentioning that Araki hated the film and was the reason why it didn't get re-released. This information was passed around so heavily it became taken as fact, until further evidence proved the studio that made it lost the rights to the film. Araki hating it had nothing to do with it. In fact, he liked the film quite a bit. Finally, the iconic Sesame Street Cracks short was added on January 13th, 2013. In July of the same year, we get to see Daikate's updates on the letter he sent to Cosmo Anzalotti, and also ran a petition to increase the chances of him getting to share it. The petition ended up getting 200 signatures, and was printed off along with the letter to send to Cosmo. The original petition page can even still be viewed. And 6 months later, Diekate would get a copy of the short from an anonymous source, and the rest is history. It's hard to believe we've come all the way from the days when Clockman hadn't been found, A Day with SpongeBob was the most popular Lost Media topic on the internet, and Slamfest was nothing more than a few grainy pictures on a fan site from 1999. Sometimes I can't believe I've been around for so long either, to see all of that happen, and even before, all the years I spent making art videos on the weekends when I wasn't neck deep in homework. Those were certainly good times, but right now is also a good time for my channel and Lost Media. Together, we can continue to grow the community, and I can keep making videos for my oldest viewers and all the new ones too. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, Finn.